What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for viewing this video and coming to my channel. Just so you know, I am not a content creator, so I could care less if you like, subscribe, tweet, book, Instagram, or anything else. I created this video today mainly to show you my first journey of buying a salvage vehicle from CoPart and putting it back on the road. And it has been an incredible journey full of learning new things about cars and the process that it takes to take a salvaged vehicle, a vehicle that to the state of Texas is no longer, safe or worthy to operate on the roads, and to go through all the stages and steps of fixing it, going through the legal and titling process to make it to where it can drive on the road again. And as you can see, the car that we're talking about today is this 2014 Scion TC. In fact, this particular TC is a 10th anniversary edition. Only 3,500 of these things were made, and it's a special edition. Scion first came out with the Scion TC back in 2004, late 2004, as a 2005 model. In fact, I used to own a 2004/2005 Scion TC, almost in this same exact color. Mine was a 2005 Azure Pearl Blue, which is a very light blue. And this particular car comes in silver ignition, which is like a silverish bluish color, depending on how the sun hits it. But it's a beautiful car, and when I first got into CoPart, I was looking for a replacement vehicle for my aging commuter car that I have now. I have a 2004 Chevy Cavalier base model, 5-speed. It has almost 200,000 miles on it. It's been a great car, but it rattles and creaks. It's manual, everything, manual transmission, manual windows, manual door locks. It's not very nice to drive. I mean, it's been reliable, point A to point B. I've got an Apple CarPlay unit in it. That's about the nicest thing that's in there. So I was looking for something to replace my commuter. I'm tired of driving a stick in rush hour Dallas-Fort Worth traffic. My left leg aches when I get home at the end of the day. So I came across this car on the CoPart website, and when I first found it, it wasn't even available to bid on or to inspect. So I just had to sit here and drool over the photos. And I was like, wow, this is a really nice car. It doesn't look like it's been in an accident. The damage was listed as mechanical, and so I'm like, man, mechanical. I've never seen a car salvaged out for mechanical before, and I wondered what was going on. And finally, when I got to one of the photos, you can see the spark plugs are in the floorboard. And I was like, oh, I know what happened here. This is a flood car, because that's usually what you do with trying to get a flood car started again, or a car that's at least had water in its engine, is to pop the spark plugs out and then try to crank it over and expel the water out of the cylinders. But I kept going through the photos, and then it was confirmed basically when I hit this photo. The coils are out of the engine block, and so this had some sort of residue in the engine bay, showing dirty water had gotten up in there and gotten all of the air box and fuse box. It's like, oh man, this thing is a flood car. But in Texas, they have to actually label it as salvaged due to flood. So this car was not submerged. And so going through, I ran the VIN through Carfax, and I found out where the car had been serviced nearly its entire life. It's always been a North Texas car its entire life, and found out the dealership that serviced it, and I even got to call them and say, hey, I got this car, here's the VIN number. Can you tell me, what happened to it the last time it was brought in? And the guy was totally cool. And the service advisor was like, oh yeah, the car came in due to water getting in the engine. And he even pulled up the report and the inspection report that Toyota does when a car comes in, and the previous owner was on there, and the previous owner had stated, no water had gotten in the car, and he had just driven through a flooded street about 6 to 8 inches. And I was able to contact the previous owner as well, and the previous owner was super cool. He told me exactly what happened. He's like, hey, it was back in July when we were just getting drowned here in Texas with all the rain, and I was driving down a street, and I was turning right, and before I knew it, I was in 6 to 8 inches of water, and the car just shut off. And then he admitted he tried to turn it over right after the car stalled on him, and that probably is what broke the engine right then and there. But he was saying, he had it towed to Toyota. They did an inspection on it, said, your engine's shot, it's got hydrolocked. It's going to be $5,000 to $6,000 to replace the engine and get the car back on the road. Well, his insurance company totaled the car out. It wasn't worth it for $5,000 to $6,000 on a $9,000 to $10,000 car to replace the engine and get it back on there. So they cut him a check, and they took this car, and through CoPart they were going to auction it off. And so I took a few more photos when I actually got to go inspect it. Sure enough, you can see this residue up here at the top, and the coils were popped out. Well, 3 of them anyways. Excuse me. And then I also found some additional damage. And he admitted to this as well, as he was driving down the highway one day, and a rubber speed bump, one of those temporary speed bumps, fell out of a work truck, and it bounced up and smacked his side skirt and put a big old crack in it. In fact, I could wiggle that thing back and forth. So there was some side skirt damage. You know, it's a 3500 limited production run, which was kind of cool. It's limited edition. Even came with like full owner's manuals. The interior of the car was really, really clean. It's just really good condition. It's just, you know, its engine was shot. And so I waited and waited, and finally the car came up for auction, and I was prepared to spend up to $4,000 to get the car. And luckily I got it for, as you see, my max bid, $2,500. Got the car for $2,500 before fees and taxes and stuff like that. And before I go on, you know, explaining how much I paid total, let me explain how CoPart works. CoPart, for salvage vehicles, in the state of Texas at least, you don't have to have any type of license to buy a salvage vehicle and restore it yourself and rebuild it yourself. There is a limitation on how many cars you can sell doing this. If I were to take this car and do it 3 more times, I'd be at my limit per calendar year. I can rebuild and sell 4 salvage rebuilt vehicles per year, and then after that I'm required to get a license. But for individuals, just a guy, me, working out of my garage, wanting to get a new car, you don't require any type of license. To bid in CoPart, you sign up for a free account. You have to submit your driver's license to them. Once they verify you are a Texas resident and you know you're a real person through the driver's license, you are automatically just a base member with up to $1,000 in bidding power automatically, without any type of credit card or deposit or anything like that. For me, since I wanted to bid up to $4,000, you have to put in a deposit that's fully refundable to CoPart. And so a $400 deposit got me $4,000 worth of buying power, and that's what I did. And so luckily I only had to spend $2,500. I got my deposit back, and so that's how you become a member on CoPart and how you buy cars. The inspection period, which, you know, they open this up, and they have a lane, an item, grid row, so whenever this starts showing up where it's at, you can actually go out to CoPart, the location it's at. This one was in the Dallas South, so it's in Wilmer, Texas, south of Dallas off I-45. I went out there, and you just give them your member number and tell them which car you're here to look at. They'll tell you where it's at, and they give you a yellow vest. And you wear that yellow vest while you're out there looking at the car. You know, if the car starts and runs, you're allowed to do that. Most of the times the batteries are dead. You cannot take any tools out there, no jump boxes, you're just you. In fact, you're really not even supposed to take photos out there, but I don't think that's ever really enforced. But, you know, if the engine turns over, you can start it up, you can test the AC. A little bit of wiggle room, you can put it in a drive and reverse and let it creep forward and backwards just to see if the gears engage. No driving, absolutely no test driving of the vehicles. So sometimes you can kind of get taken for that. And so I went out there, and you know, since the spark plugs and the boots were out of the engine block, I didn't even try to start this car. I knew what happened, especially since I talked to the previous owner. And so, yeah, I knew this thing needed a new engine. And so, armed with that knowledge, I went and bid on it, and I won it for $2,500. Now let's take a look at my invoice. So here's my invoice. So the sale price is $2,500. My buyer fee, $500. So if we take a look at their bidding fees, this is on their website. You can just go to CoPart or just Google CoPart member fees. So they have 4 tiers, A, B, C, and D. Well, I'm not a business member. I don't even know how you become a business member. You probably have to have a dealer's license or something to that effect. I'm a consumer member. You have 2 types, secure payment and non-secure payment. And then they describe what secure and non-secure is down here. I opted to pay with the cashier's check, so I get the lesser of the fee. So fee C is right here. It's this column right here. And my bid, or my winning bid, was $2,500. So there's my bidder's fee, $500 automatically. You know, obviously the less you spend in the bid and winning bid, the less you spend here. And it goes pretty high. I mean, if you get a get a car that's $35,000, like a recently wrecked BMW or something like that, you're going to pay 15%. But that's not all you're paying. Let's go back to the invoice. You're also going to pay an $89 virtual bid fee. There is no in-person auctioning or in-person presence allowed. It's not like an old-fashioned, fast-talking auctioneer. Everything's done on the internet. So you're automatically, no matter what, going to pay this $89 fee, because it's the only way to bid on CoPart auctions is online. There is one way that I've never seen done is where you actually go to a CoPart facility and they have computers in the corner where you can pre-bid up to a certain amount on the facility. I don't know if you get charged the bid fee, but honestly that's just kind of ridiculous. I sucked it up and I paid the $89 because I wanted to bid on it at my office on my lunch break because I didn't want to drive the 50 minutes to the CoPart facility and would risk breaking down or something like that. You can also bid from your phone as well. They have an app. Then there's the gate fee, the $59 gate fee. This is, I didn't like this fee. I can see how it helps some people, but basically the gate fee is there's no way you can go into the yard and pick up your car. They have to bring it to you, and how they bring it to you is the most frustrating part of all this. They will bring it to you on a forklift. They have these huge skid loaders, and they will come out there to your car, and they'll lift it up on these forklifts, and then carry the car out to you in the loading area where you can put it onto your trailer. Well, for me, I had a car dolly. There's no way the skid loader could put it onto the dolly safely, so he just put it on the concrete, and we had to load it ourselves. This would make sense in the case of my dad. He bought a wrecked 2003 Tundra to harvest parts off because somebody rear-ended his Tundra, and it was smashed in the front. We just wanted the truck bed and the interior. Well, the skid loader actually placed it onto a flatbed trailer for us, which saved us a ton of trouble. I think this bid should be, or this fee should be waived for those of us that the car runs and drives, or we can self-load in the yard pretty easily. But as you can see, I got charged $59 for someone to bring me the car 200 feet. Sales tax, state of Texas, and then you can see I saved $9.38 on the secure funds adjustment. That's the sales tax refund on the lesser amount I paid due to secure funds. So here, I had a cashier's check for $3,344.75. That's what it cost to win this car and take it home that day. A couple of things in the state of Texas. Once you pay the sales tax, the car's yours. There's no registration. You're not allowed to register a salvage vehicle in the state of Texas that's deemed unworthy or unsafe to operate on the road. So I don't have to worry about registering this thing even though it's not moving anywhere. In fact, I can't register it. The system won't allow this car to be re-registered with this pink salvage title. So at least I'm not paying a yearly registration fee of $100. And so getting the car home, it was here. The title's coming to me. It's in my name, so I don't have to mess with going to the DMV or anything like that. The car's mine, sales tax paid for. I paid nothing more than that $3,344.75. So, getting it home was a different story. So when we put it on the car dolly, we didn't realize how big this bumper stuck out from the front wheelbase. And so when we pushed it up there with some speed, it ripped that chunk of bumper out right there. So unfortunately I damaged the bumper within 20 seconds of owning my car. So this is going to require a new bumper as well as a repaired or replaced side skirt. So yeah, if you're loading a Scion or any type of low ground clearance or big bumper vehicle onto a standard two-wheel car dolly, don't shove it up there. Use come-alongs and 2x4s. And then of course, that drama wasn't enough. Coming home on my two-lane road to my house, the wheel on the car dolly came off because of a failed bearing, and it just slammed the car and trailer down onto the concrete and stopped in the middle of a two-lane road. And eventually we had to unload the car by using a jack, push it into the ditch, push the trailer into the ditch, and go buy a wheel bearing rebuild kit, and then rebuild our trailer in the ditch, and then shove the car, since it doesn't run, up onto the trailer and tow it out of the ditch. So I had a fun day getting this car home, but I'm telling you, it's going to be totally worth it when I'm done. I want to explain that I've never done anything like this before. I work on my own vehicles, but I've never undertaken something as large as an engine swap. I've replaced alternators, I can replace water pumps, standard home garage mechanic type stuff, but I've never replaced a whole engine on a car that I've never worked on before, an unfamiliar platform. There's almost no documentation at all available on the internet for 2014 Scion TC and how to remove the engine, how to pop out the axles, separate the transmission, those kind of things. There's just almost nothing out there. I got to give props to the guys over at sionlife.org. What little they did tell me about this stuff, it really helped me. I really appreciate sionlife.org and their advice and information for the few questions that I did go to them. So that's just kind of the backstory on this car. I'm going to be doing a full series of everything from like right here, introducing you guys to CoPart, to this car, how you buy cars at CoPart, and then going through replacing the engine and swapping out parts and components and repainting the front bumper and repairing the side skirt, and then eventually giving you a total breakdown of every penny I spent on this car to get it back on the road and see if it was worth it versus retail value. But I hope you guys stay tuned for further videos. This is going to be an adventure. If I'm the only one doing it, that's great. I just want it out there on YouTube in case somebody else has any questions about CoPart or this particular type of car and working on the engine or components of it. It's pretty much everything's coming out of the engine bay. So if you need to learn how to replace the alternator, hey, guess what? I'm going to document that as part of removal. And you want to know how to drain and fill the transmission fluid, you're going to have to do that too. And every fluid is going to have to come out of this car if it's not already gone. So anyways, just wanted to introduce you guys to my $2,500 CoPart win for my 2014 Toyota Scion TC 10 Series. Stay posted for future videos, and I'll catch you on the fly.